Welcome to part 3 of my sugar art sculptured figurine zombie couple build. And this again is part of my Ryan Does Everything series, just showing some things that I'm interested in. This segment is called the zombie couple wireframe, the build for the zombie couple wireframe. So what I did was I started out with this 11-inch circle, and I used this on an 18-inch board. Apparently I read it wrong, because as you'll see later in the video, later in this part and in the rest of the video series, it's smaller. It's only a 12-inch board, and the reason is because I read it wrong or whatever. So first I made a circle around that 11-inch board so I could see exactly what that would be. Then after that, I took the templates that I had created and had them laminated so that I could put them on. I was hoping to build right onto fondant and just use a little bit of some wire to build the bases. So I started with these plans and tried to figure out where the feet were going to go through the board, and that's where I was going to just put some wires to start with. That quickly changed once I realized that I wasn't going to be able to do fondant to support there. So I'm just marking on the board where that needs to be. So grabbing a Sharpie, because it tended to mark better than a ballpoint pen. Sorry for the video quality here. This is my webcam, and I had to free up some space. Anyway, excuses. So anyway, I'm just apologize for the video quality. So after I marked the places for the holes and figured out where those needed to be on the first one, I realized that it was slipping everywhere, so I was going to tape it down in a place where it wasn't going to move, and that would allow me to pick it up and peel it back without the sheet moving and changing where the rest of them would be. So I could kind of mark where that needed to be underneath. So the blue character in this case is the female character, the bride, and I'm marking the position of the foot, the direction the foot is facing, and apparently my tape didn't work because you see it's sliding everywhere. Anyway, I just did my best. My kids were looking on and trying to see what I was doing. So you see that I looked at the other view, and the groom's foot was flat rather than up on tiptoe. So that was going to be a different placement for the wire to go in. With the bride, she was at an angle, and her foot is going to be kind of pointed. So now I'm just writing which foot is which. That's the girl's left. This is the girl right, as she's facing out. I had to plan ahead of time because I didn't know exactly what it was going to do, and tried to. This was my first real big sculpture that had support inside of it, wireframe support. And again, this was done in sugar art, so fondant and hardened. It almost ended up being like not quite a pastiage, more of a modeling paste kind of consistency in the base of the fondant, so that it would harden, and it seriously was like bone hard when I got the wireframes put together. Finishing up with the guy's right foot and left foot, so that I could take the plan off, and there you see where those where the placement was. And then all I had to do was draw out the angles of where the the limbs were going to go for the legs, where the feet were going to go from the points. And here I'm just pseudo measuring with my fingers, and yeah, it looks about right. So again, this wasn't rocket science. So now I just kind of drew on the board where I thought the legs were going to go with the joints to try and match up to the 3D sculpture that I'd created. Putting the joints in there for her legs and hips, and then I did the same knee joint, leg and hip, and base of the spine for the guy, kind of doing the pose that would match, just so that when I started bending wire, that it would match up with the sculpture that I had. Just looking at it over and over, trying to gauge and figure out how it was going to look. So then I built the wireframe, and this is the female pose. And as you can see, there were some problems with that. The coat hanger, that's what I used. I used coat hanger because I didn't have any thick enough gauge wire that was going to hold up to the stresses of bending and holding its shape. So you can see right there in that front leg that it wasn't smooth. That was the part that came together to hold the coat hanger on the rod. So that didn't work out very well. And then also on that arm that comes down on the, as you're looking at it, the right side, but it's actually her left arm, right before the elbow, between the elbow and the shoulder. That's the other part of that twisted part of the coat hanger. Those caused some trouble once I put the heat shrink on it, the aquarium tubing, which is how you can keep your wire to be food safe, because then the wire is not touching the fondant, and it can actually, if you wanted to eat this sculpture, you could do that. I don't know why anybody would want to, and I wouldn't want that to happen because it was awesome. Anyway, so then, like I mentioned earlier, we had a bit of a delay, and that delay was caused by our house remodel, and that ended up taking 5 months from the time when I created the wireframe for the bride until I could even start with working on the groom. And here you see the groom in the foreground, and as I started putting on the tubing, I needed a smaller gauge wire, like a 18 or a 20 gauge wire, I think, I can't remember, to hold the coat hanger pieces together. And then I sealed each of those joints with hot glue, just from a glue gun. And there you can see the hip and the spine going up. And now it, I don't know why I didn't take more pictures, but anyway, there it is, the wireframe for the pose. And you can see that he's leaning forward, she's kind of over to the side, and that was about it. So I will show you how I started the build process, and I think I start with the floor in the next video. So they have a place for their legs to stand on. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe for the next video and to keep up with everything I'm doing. Thank you for watching, and go out and amaze yourself and learn something new. See ya.